Of course, very nice girl. Talk to me. Listen,
Okay, Avraham, we're going to start with the underground
Yes.
in the Zionist movement, the Zionist resistance movement.
Yes,
Tell
ma'am.
me how that was established, what some of your activities were, and who
Yes.
some of the leaders were.
yes. Now, the situation prior to our being incarcerated in the ghetto behind barbed wires, the terrible attacks and killings of Jews in the streets of Kovno right after the outbreak of the war until the incarceration and the ghetto called for immediate resistance because we had also, even under the Soviet occupation, 1940, June 1940 to June 1941, we had also a clandestine Zionist movement or leadership, let's say it was, but this had entirely different character. While under the Bolsheviks, it was our main aim to assist the families economically of the leaders who were being arrested right on the first days of occupation. They were arrested, they were taken to Siberia. Second, to try and ourselves try and avoid our own exile to Siberia. It was very clear that under the Soviet occupation, not only will we be able to maintain our Hebrew schools, Hebrew education, they closed up immediately. They closed up, liquidated all the Jewish institutions, leave alone Zionist parties and movements and so on. But what we had is really, in the very sense of the war of the word, to try and to keep away from arrests and to keep out hiding. We were hiding. I, for instance, was hiding from the moment when I was told my brother-in-law was not a Zionist. My sister, she was religious and Zionist-minded woman. And she was the oldest sister, Batya Romanovsky. She didn't allow me to live in somewhere else but with her, to stay with her all the years that I studied at the University of Kovno, law, yes. She was very much devoted. She was Zionist and she was religious. To the contrary, my brother-in-law, her husband, Benjamin, a very decent, a very honest and very fine person. He was the so-called, there was a movement of Jewish left, Bundist, and he was a Bundist. There was a Jewish Bundist paper in Lithuania, the Volksblad. Volksblad, it was the name of the Jewish paper, which was the organ of the Bundist in Lithuania.
So how was the Zionist resistance different than that point? You said that they supported people economically, then how was the ones during the war?
And then we were assisting one another. He told me, my brother, this is what I'm talking about, my brother, because he told me, look, Avram, you are on the list to be exiled to Siberia. So just try to from the surface, disappear. So I told him, Benjamin, I'll sleep with you. He says, what? He'll sleep with me. If they will not find you in your room, you'll come to me. They know that I'm your brother-in-law. They know that your sister. So I finally, hiding in various places in the outskirts, I run away to Vilna, yes, which was then the capital of Lithuania. And in Vilna, I found out with whom could I make contacts, also Zionist leaders, but they themselves were hiding. So we're hiding together in a park, in a lane, somewhere out in the outskirts of the city, and it was an absolutely impossible situation. You understand? And to the end, I couldn't see any other way out but to come back to Kovno. And when I came back to Kovno, 2 days later,
the invasion,
German war break out. And so, as I said yesterday, I went from the pot to the fire. The resistance in the ghetto, or even before we were encountered in the ghetto, was entirely of different character and entirely of different dimensions and entirely different aims. So when the historic and dramatic meeting of assembly of the Jewish leadership of Kovno to elect a Oberjude, a chief Jew, and the committee, in the very same place, in the very same school, former school, 2 hours later, we held a meeting in another room of this very same school for leaders of the various Zionist groups. There was a member of the left-wing Chalutzik movement, pioneer movement, what we call now Mapam, Shomer HaTzair. Then there was the labor movement, and then there was the revisionists, and then there were the general Zionists.
Do you remember their names?
Oh, of course, they were my best friends. So to start with, Shmuel Goldschmidt, he is now Sam Goldsmith, Saul Goldsmith in Chicago. Yes. The second one was Beryl Kahn from the Labor. By the way, the Saul Goldsmith was from the very left, Shomer HaTzair, and is now quite a millionaire, you see. And the second one was Beryl Kahn. Beryl Kahn, he lives in New York. He from the labor movement. From the revisionists was the head, the chairman of the revisionist Jabotinsky movement in Lithuania, Hirsch Levin, or as I call him, Tzvi Levin, who passed away in Israel 2 years ago. And myself representing the Zionist, general Zionist movement. So we were 4. Right after joined us a 5th one, very active. This was Srebnitsky, Isaac Srebnitsky. He was most instrumental because he was a pharmacist and was the head of the only pharmacy in the ghetto. And since we consider that the pharmacy is the most place that nobody will think of that there is any hidings or some Nazi activities, so we below the pharmacy, where there was a cellar, and in the cellar we arranged to have one to listen to radio from abroad. It was the only apparatus that you had from to listen. You see, loudspeaker, and so we used to go down the pharmacy and the cellar and listen to radio. Mostly he himself would listen, but because each one of us was busy in a certain task. And then we used to come frequently, once a week, even sometimes more. But this was really top secret, also for our various groups. I never told my Haverim from the General Zionists that we have a leadership of the underground in the ghetto resistance. What I told them is that we have, first of all, to be organized ourselves, keep together, be ready to oppose the Nazis. For instance, after the 28th of October, we had a decision of the underground, of all the underground, the Zionist underground was called as Merkaz Zioni William Polikovna, which is the letters, the initials at Matzok. Matzok, as you know, the Hebrew, in English to translate it is in stress, in Matzok, you are in a very hard position. You cannot move. You are surrounded, and you are in a very bad situation. Let's say it. And the Haverim, we called on Haverim always to be on the alert, to tell us, to signal us whatever they know in their dwellings or in their working places, what they have heard and what they know, to bring us the news. So we used to concentrate after the day of work, when they used to come back from the works, from the places, they used to report to us on what they have heard that day.
Where would you meet, Avraham? Would you meet hidden someplace in the reports? How many of you would be?
No. First of all, there was only small, very small ties, 4, 5, not more. 6 was the maximum. So we meet either in one's dwelling, or somewhere on the vegetable gardens, as if we are walking there on the vegetable. Sometimes even in the center of the police, because or in the cellar of the pharmacy. Because for us we were cut off of the outer world. This was exactly the very meaning of the Germans by setting up the ghettos. First of all, to keep us behind barbed wire. We cannot go out, we cannot have any contact. We didn't have telephones. And later when we had telephones, it was also only for the inner communication between the Jewish police and the German commander of the ghetto, for his convenience, not for the convenience of the Jews. Or there was a telephone in the Jewish committee, the labor department and so on, for the convenience of the Germans, not for us. But we knew to exploit also this. For instance, the telephone. There was, at the gate, there was a service police station at the ghetto gate, Jewish police station. From the other side, outer side, there was the Germans and the Lithuanians police. Inside, there was the Jewish police. So whenever some top official of the Gestapo or of the Wehrmacht or of the Stadtkommissar entered the ghetto, immediately they signal by phone to us. In the Jewish committee, it was myself. In the labor, we had another man. In the police, we had another man. And these used to come, and immediately we were on the alert. Immediately. If, for instance, when Rauka came into the ghetto, the streets were cleaned up. Everybody ran away. And so we used, first of all, to gather news or information on what is expiring in the various places of work in the ghetto. and what they have heard. And there were rumors more than facts, you see. But even the rumors for us, with not having any kind of communication with another city. There were 3 ghettos in Lithuania: the Kovno ghetto, the Vilna ghetto, and the Shavli ghetto. But there was no communication. So the first work what the Zionist underground have done to establish a communication between the Kovno ghetto underground and the Vilna ghetto underground.
How did you do that?
Oh,
What did you do?
This is a good question. You are a very intelligent interviewer, I will tell you. So you see, there was a Jewish worker group, who worked at the railway station in Kovno. And the head of this group, usually a group of workers in the terminology of the ghetto, it was a brigade. And the head of the brigade was one Zilberman, who was a member of the underground. So we called him and told him, listen, you are working at the railway station. There are going trains day in, day out from Kovno to Vilna. Try to bribe one of the workers of the railway, who were working on the train, yes? So as to get that we could send some letters from Kovno ghetto to the leaders of the underground in the Vilna ghetto, whom we knew. And this Zilberman succeeded in bribing the man who the driver of the train, how do you call it? The driver of the train.
Conductor?
What?
Conductor?
Conductor of the locomotive, you see? And first, I remember he came, all right, give me, so we gave him 10 letters. Each one of us knew 1 or 2 from the previous Zionist leaders in Vilna. For instance, I knew Nisan Reznik, who was from the Zionist General Youth Movement. So I sent to him a letter. The others sent to their respective Chaverim in Vilna. And the same Zilberman gave these 10 letters. Of course, it's not easy to take out 10 letters from the ghetto, because if they would check him on the gate when he goes out as head of the brigade and find the letters, it was the end of him and of all the brigade. So we had to be very, very careful. But he succeeded, and he bribed this conductor of the locomotive, of the train, and he was supposed to give this to one of the underground, either Reznik or Abba Kovner. Abba Kovner was from the name. He was from the leaders of the Vilna ghetto, and Glazerman was the leaders of the revisionists. So each one sent to his men in Vilna, and luckily, the next day, he brought letters from them. This was something that opened our eyes and our minds. And you could know, but of course it was, the letters were restricted to several lines only.
What did they say?
Yes. So first of all, we are telling them in our own language to make them understand that we are trying, we don't say that we are organized, that we are trying to keep our Chaverim together. And from time to time we meet. And we are trying to keep the mood of our Chaverim and give them the feeling they are not alone. They give them to renew the sense of belonging. So that gives them also more security, more defense, that in case something happens, they know they have to, they have a man to whom they can call and open their hearts and their pains and their problems and so on. And there were believe me, everyone had it full. Hearts and pains, himself or his family or his parents or his friends. And that we want to get a Sholem Aleichem. We didn't say write us. We want to get from you a Sholem Aleichem. You understand? And we didn't have to put them more words in the few lines that we wrote, because we had to be ready that it will be detained and then go and explain. And so it was that we got the first contact with the Zionist underground in the ghetto of Vilna, and it developed later on also to send letters from families from the ghetto of Kovno to families in the ghetto of Vilna.
Avraham, tell me what those first letters from Vilna that came to you.
Yeah.
You told us what your letters were to them. What were those first letters
First of
back
all,
to
he
you?
tells me, for instance, this register. First of all, I'm very pleased to hear that you survive, that you live, that you are living. Second, I'm the same. I'm pleased to tell you that I and my wife and my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law and the Chaver Ziuzi, and this is in Siberia, and this is there, and this was killed. The names of the leaders, the former leaders, you see, this was just an inventory of who is and who is not. And believe me, this was most important, you see. And then in the next letters already we started, how is your problem food, how is the problem of labor, what are the possibilities of fight Haman. We didn't say Hitler. Fight Haman. See, Haman. We knew. You want to know? Again, I must say, quote a Russian saying. They say, a bird that is in stress knows exactly how to keep her mouth either shut or cry very loud, the form how to express herself and tell what is their inner feeling or what is a desire, you see. So the situation brought about to bring the news that we wanted to transfer to the Chaverim in Vilna was in a very, very masked vocabulary, and we used to say the next time matzok or yale or whatever it is, you see, and we use then the slang or just new words that wouldn't mean to anything, nothing to anybody, but for us it was understood, you know. Gestapo, we didn't mention the name Gestapo, but we had another formularity of this.
Did you share information about the deportations or the liquidation of the ghettos?
Of course. This was the first thing that we've done, and we wanted for them to hear. So. Then we wanted to know. Certain families, when they started to write, they wanted to know about their members. There were certain families that part of them were in the Vilna ghetto and part of them were in the Kovno ghetto. For instance, my wife, her brother, two brothers, were in Vilna. And it was the first time that she learned that he is alive while the other brother was killed. And this was the first time, and the very first communications. So when more letters were sent, and we had to distribute the letters to the inmates of the ghetto, we had an office of statistics in the ghetto. The administration, we didn't speak about it, but statistics, which they wrote every birth and every passing away from the ghetto, every marriage, when marriage in the ghetto. Life went on. Of course we could, there was a bar mitzvah in the ghetto. And I want to tell you, I must tell it, once I was sitting in my office in the Jewish committee, and all of a sudden I got a call from the workshops, big workshops in the ghetto. We had big workshops that worked 1,800, mostly women, who could not go out of work from outside the ghetto. And there were a carpentry and tailorship and plumbers and washing, cleaning, all for the German army. But we, and so the German supervisor of the ghetto used to come to the Jewish committee, or he used to come straight to the workshop. There, he liked very much to go to the workshop because he could order a suit for himself, a pair of boots for his wife or for his mattresses. It didn't cost him money, you understand? So all of a sudden I get a call from the workshop, big workshops, that I should immediately come. Müller is there. Müller was the deputy Stadtkommissar who had the supervision of the ghetto. And when Müller says I should come immediately, I have to come immediately. So on my way from the Jewish committee to the ghetto workshops, I passed by a small lane, a street. It's not a street, it is
an alley?
Huh?
An alley?
An alley, a very tiny alley. And one keeps me by the sleeve, and he says, Golub, come in. And it doesn't wait I should come in. It drags me inside in a courtyard there. So I told him, Zussman, it was Zussman. He was a Hasidic. In Lithuania, we're not Hasidic. In Lithuania, mostly 99% were non-Hasidic, opposing. But these were several Hasidic. One of them was in the ghetto. And he directs me in, and I says, Zussman, Müller is waiting for me urgently in the workshop. He doesn't want to listen. First of all, he says, sit down. We have sukkahs today. And he berates his sukkah, you know, some leaves. It was something that incredible. Sit down, you have to make the broche. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hayoshev besukkah. Be blessed to God for sitting in the sukkah. You see, this is first of all. And second, Zussman let me go. The Müller is waiting for me. Wait a minute. He'll wait. He'll wait. And you know, you have to make l'chaim. What is l'chaim? My son is bar mitzvah today, so you have a mitzvah to drink a l'chaim for Israel. And I say, he'll kill me. Zussman, what will I say to Zussman? She said, Shlichei mitzvah enam nizakim. Those who go on a mission of good, the God keeps him and preserves him and will not do you any harm. And until I said the broche shecheyanu, until I said the broche lechaim, so you let me go, and the best Elohim yishmerecha v'yatzlecha.
You want some water? Here. What's upsetting you?
Beg pardon?
What's upsetting you?
So finally, he let me off, and I came to the to
The workshop?
to the workshop, and I'm getting ill. You dirty Jew, du das a German Juncker, S.A. Juncker from the party. He was a party man. Asked to wait for you, Jew. Where have you been? I said, Müller, I just fell. On my way I ran, running I fell and I got hurt in my leg. So I had to that's why I was late. You see, I find something out, but you see, in the most hard times of the ghetto, the spirit, the devotion, the heritage, it is Sukkot today, and you have to say the blessing, sit, so you can say that you fulfilled the mitzvah of sitting in a sukkah and make the blessing. And it's my son is bar mitzvah, so I have to drink. It was certainly it was not vodka, but it was something, whatever it was. I certainly didn't care very much, but I was overwhelmed of the spirit. This is, my friend, part of the resistance. It's nothing but revolt against the German order, strict order to press us, to dehumanize us. We shouldn't think of bar mitzvah, and we shouldn't think of holidays, and we should think only this slavery work, on the very hard work, that we should think all the day how to get another piece of bread, and not think of Sukkot, and not think of holidays, and not think of bar mitzvah, and so forth and so on. This is the day in, day out resistance of the common man, the inmate inside the ghetto. And this what kept him alive. Because Sukkot is a great meaning. Sukkot is when the Jews were in the desert and they had no place to live, and they built tents. And they were lived 40 years. But they lived in tents, but they lived. So we certainly can have full hope that one day it will finish. And this what meant this Zussman with his sukkah. And it moves me so innerly to the bottom of my heart when I think of it.
We can stop for now. Do you want some more water?
But of course we had much more serious things to do. We, the four of us, or more precisely the five of us, the leaders of the underground, the four were the founders. Isaac Strebnitzky was the fifth one, was editor leadership. We made a final decision after the 28th of October, no more respond to orders of concentrating on one place of all the ghetto, even a part of it. No more. And to resist, to oppose. And really it happened so that I think a month or 6 weeks afterwards there was the order to report on the very same square. They need 500 workers to be sent to Riga, from the Governor ghetto to the Riga ghetto. We believe no more what they say, because they said the 500, they were to the archive and they were killed. They said they need to make order to divide between those who will get more bread and those who will get less bread, and they killed 10,000. So it was clear that we had no confidence whatsoever. And we made up our mind, no more response to... And then they started to grab people from the street. And they could grab 300 because most of the people from the ghetto were at work outside the ghetto. And when they didn't succeed in getting the people, so they took these 300, they brought them to the place, to the Democratic Square. I went there and stood aside. At that time, there was Jordan, the supervisor of the ghetto on behalf of, he was a mass murderer. And all of a sudden I hear that he says, maybe those who want to volunteer to go to walk to Riga should make 5 steps ahead. And I was sure nobody will go, but there were 5 who stepped ahead. And finally I disclosed that these 5 were insane, or very, not insane, but crazy people. For instance, one of them was a former high officer of the Lithuanian army, and I told him, what, Gale was his name. I said, Gale, why did you volunteer? Do you know, are you sure that you are going to work in Riga? Don't you know what happened with the 500? She says, Golub, Kovna alone must know that I'm a crazy man, Bishugi. Let also Riga know that I'm Bishugi. And this only shows you who you are talking with. And also this type of people were in the ghetto. Now, this was one thing. Second, when Elkes was going in town to meet the chief of the Gestapo, I always tried to escort him, and from a distance, of course, just in case something happens. Now we, with our clandestine post that lasted for 5 months, but then they were caught, and the man Zilberman was put in the Gestapo. He was almost killed. They arrested the main clerks in the Jewish committee. First of all, the secretary of the Jewish committee, Bernstein. He had not the slightest idea, because I have done it and not he. They arrested the chief of the Statistic Bureau, although he had no idea but his assistant deputy. They arrested the main clerk with the household of the office of the Ältestenrat. Had not the slightest idea. But Elkes turned heaven to earth and earth to heaven until he got them free. You see, and this was, but he was not allowed to be anymore the secretary of the Jewish committee, and so I became the secretary in May '42. Then, when we had, in course of our correspondence, we were told that they have partisan groups in the forest around Vilna. And this was far behind, from Kovna, more than 100 kilometers. And that they will be ready to assist if we send a group to those forests. So they should come to Vilna, and from Vilna so we had a contact. And then we started very seriously in training our movement, or Zionist underground movement, in weapons. And we had among our Haverim 2 officers who were officers in the Lithuanian army and were very well trained in ammunition, and they were the instructors that instructed small groups, of course, in 2, in 3, not always in the same place, always in some other place. You understand? And I think I told you yesterday that the first gun that we bought was in 1941 in the beginning when the Bramson, the teacher, master of Hebrew school, and Sachs, a lawyer from Charlotte, that I knew them very well before, they came to me and said, we have a possibility to buy a gun. Could you provide the money for it? And I went to Garfunkel, the deputy, and he told me, what are you talking about? It will be a terrible risk for all the ghetto. So I didn't give in. I went to Dr. Elke. Dr. Elke didn't say another word. He says, go to the treasurer and tell him that I ordered to give the money to Sachs, yes, and Bramson. And this was the first gun we had in the ghetto. But this really was the first, but not the last one. And then, little by little, we used to try. And how can we bring in weapons to the ghetto? So first of all, our Haverim worked in many places, workshops, where they had, especially those who to repair German weapons in German units, to repair weapons. So used plainly to steal. And how do they steal? For instance, there were about 30 or 40 people working in that place where they, where the ammunition stores. And the Germans, for them, it was just a lost thread. They just try to repair it. So each one of them used to take a part of a gun in the pocket, and when they used to come together, they
put it together.
But to pass with a part of a gun is also, it was not so, believe me, it was not so easy. Unfortunately, one of our best men was caught with a weapon. He dared to take a weapon himself full, and they rushed him and they killed him on the spot. So we paid very hard for it, very, very hard for it. But when we, yes, and now I want, when the first group of the Zionist underground was ready to go to the woods, and we knew that there will be yes, and we knew that there was a descent from the Soviet Union in the woods, a top officer of the Red Army who trained them and who supervised them. So we knew that they're going in a place where there will be a communist surrounding. And there will be also many non-Jews. It was very important for me that they, in their leisure time, could have talks about Zionism, about Eretz Israel, about the events in Jewish history, sing Palestine songs. So I came to some, let's say, understanding. We didn't sign any contract with the communist leader in the ghetto, who later, as I said, they had also their own underground. So I said, look, Chaim, he was an idealist, he was a communist. But he was also one of the circle, of the cultural circle that we met once in 2 weeks, you see. He was also a writer. So then, Chaim, we are sending the Zionist, first Zionist group to the partisan woods. I want you to see to it that in the leisure time they could sit together and hold conversations. When there's a Jewish holiday, they could just mark it. They could sing Hebrew songs. They could tell each another. So he says, Abraham, of course. We are not going to convert him to communism. This is what he said. He was a very honest man, and I believed every word that he told me, because he was a very, very honest man. But fortunately, they came to the Vilna Ghetto. From there, they brought them to the forest. But then, a month later, I got word that not a word to mention Hebrew, and not a song of Eretz Israel, and not mention Eretz Israel. Leave alone prayers and so on. You understand? And I was very much disappointed. Yes, when in 1943, when the communists raised also and organized their resistance in the ghetto, headed by Chaim Yelin, so we made an agreement among us to join forces. For the Germans, a Jew is a Jew, whether it's a communist or whether it's religious or whether it's Chabad or whether it's whatever it is. So we had a joint command, 2 from the Zionist underground and 2 from the communist underground. I, together with Zvi Levin from the Revisionist, represented the Zionist underground in the joint command. But after this incident, I said, Chaim, I know it's not your bad will. I know you cannot do anything about it, but I joined a command joined with communists. I resign. I cannot. It's against my concept of life. I'm a Zionist from the early years. And then came in, instead of me, came into this Srebnitsky from the pharmacist. See? There were problems, they in their own problems. There was a problem outfit when they went a group of 30, 40, they had to have boots, they had to have clothes, they had to have overcoat, they had to have everything. And how did we do it? We had the Jewish workshops in the ghetto, the big workshops in the ghetto. So we used to send them to work there. Those who were the first to go to the woods, they should go and work in the place where they repair the German uniforms, you see? And then they used to adjust. Also, we needed German uniforms, just to, as a mask. So there you used to take, to measure, not plainly fabricated, but to measure. Everyone was equipped with everything. We just stole from the German stores and from the German repairs. And it worked very good. Unfortunately, the main man who led the groups from the Kovno ghetto to the Vilna ghetto to the forest was the leader of the communist group, Chaim Yelin. And he used to dress himself as a Wehrmacht officer, you see, with all the equipment, and he came to take a group out of the ghetto, all the partisans, and we hired once a truck, and the driver was also dressed in German uniform, so that they came into the ghetto. There was at the ghetto gate there was everything kosher.
How did you get a truck?
What?
How did you get a truck?
Oh, for money you get everything. You see, so we had the money. I want to tell you, in the ghetto community, perhaps this is the only Jewish committee that worked together with the underground. They helped them. They didn't work together, but they helped them. And for instance, once, so he was, I want to finish with him, so he used to take the lead and bring him to the forest and come back. It took him, of course, a week, 2 weeks. So he used to wear a German officer, the driver is a German, and here are the Jewish workers. So they went through, clearly through the gate, mounted the truck, and went to the woods. One day in such movements, I was going to the city with a permit because as a secretary of the Jewish committee. But Chaim Yelin, the head of the communists, he used to go out in clandestine. He had with him a gun, always in the pocket, and one day he was caught by the Germans, and he ran away from them. In 1 yard in courtyard, he jumped from one place to another one, and finally they caught him and they brought him to the Gestapo. He did not disclose his identity. He never said that he was from the ghetto, even. You understand? Good. And nothing came out of all his maneuvers. He was killed. And this he died as a hero, fighting with his gun against the Germans in town. So this gives you. I can speak about underground as much as you want, but
right,
one thing I want to say about the part of the Jewish committee in the underground. One, we didn't get the money to rent a truck. We didn't find the guy so we came to the eldest, and we had to send a group to the woods. So I came to the Dr. Elkes and I told him, look, we need to send out a group of 25, and would you permit us to use the wagons? There were wagons in the ghetto to bring firewood, to bring all kinds of supplies from outside to the ghetto. They'll go in the morning and they'll come in the evening. The wagons, so we took 3 wagons, excuse me, 5, of course. And they went out, and they didn't come back in the evening, and they didn't come back the next morning, and they didn't come next evening. It was a terrible, because where are the wagons? Why don't they fulfill, why don't they come to town to take the bread, the flour, the firewood? It was a mess. So Elke said that something happened. They have to repair the wagons. They have to the horses are not well. All kinds of schmonzes. And then only at the well look, if it would be disclosed, the Eltesnat would be killed by no excuse whatsoever, no pardon. And we didn't sleep the nights. Yershua Levin from the leadership of the partisans, and myself especially, because we were in close contact with the Jewish committee, and because of the relationship between me and Dr. Elkes, and he agreed to do it. So I had sleepless nights. Don't envy me in what a position I was these 3 days. Terrible. And we were on the outlook, and far away we sent outside the ghetto at the bridge that connects with the Kovno and the Slobodka suburb, just to see if they are there or something happened to them. We didn't know what happened. Maybe they were caught. And only after the 3rd day, after midnight, they came back worn out, torn out terribly, because it was not a journey to go. You have to stop certain places. When you see a German, let's say on the road, a German squad is going, or even Lithuanian partners, whatever. So that's why it took them very much, because they well succeeded in hiding on crucial moments on the road. And that's what took 3 days, that took us out the all inside, what went inside went outside. And you know, there were 2 rabbis I mentioned Rabbi Schmuckler and Rabbi Snier. They really went and prayed in the synagogue, especially for She'asa Nisim La'avotenu. Really, you see? So this was a very not easy job at all. Not easy. And I must, in 2 words also to mention, we had the confiscation of books, which was a terrible. It was an action, not on men, but on books. But books, we are the Amma Sefer.
When did that happen?
It happened in February 1942. There came a special envoy from Rosenberg Einsatzstab. Rosenberg was the minister for the occupied territories, and he was the man that ordered that all books, all printed matter that are in the ghetto should be confiscated and taken out and sent to Germany. So when I came from the Rosenberg Einsatzstab, Dr. Benkner, it was in 42. I remember it until today. I remember it to the rest of my life. This Dr. Benkner came to the ghetto and came to the Jewish committee and said all books should be, and we should write announcement all over the ghetto that they should bring in certain places, concentration places, to bring the books to be delivered to the Germans. And all the wagons of the ghetto were mobilized to bring the books from the various parts of the ghetto to be handed over to the Germans. So in the underground, again, in Wisconsin, we decided the most valuable books we want to rescue. So we mobilized the teachers who should accompany the wagons and take out from the wagons valuable books that they consider of historic value, of whatever, and put it on a separate wagon, which was accompanied, and there were small children, the Eilbote, the messengers. So they were not, and they, on this wagon where they stood, put the wagons, and they used to send it, to bring it to some hiding place for us. I knew that the yeshiva of Slobodki had a very big library, and needless to say, for hundreds of years. So I went to the head of the yeshiva, Rabbi Skaruta, and I told him, Rabbi Skaruta, you know that there is an order of the Germans to deliver all the books, and we are trying to rescue the most important books. So may I ask you, please, pick up, to take out from your library, there were about 30,000 volumes. 30,000 volumes of the yeshiva library for ages. Take out the most valuable books, and I'll send a wagon to take it and to hide it. So he says, Golub, what are you talking about? All the books of the yeshiva are very important and most important. So I said, I was myself in the yeshiva in my young days, and I know that even in the yeshiva there are books more valuable and less valuable. We have to rescue what we can. We cannot rescue 30,000, but we can rescue perhaps 500 or 600. Didn't help a thing. So he says, Kauta, we will hide ourselves. We know how to hide it. We'll hide them. They will not get our books. I didn't succeed to persuade him. The stubbornness, and the religious Jews, the more they are religious, the more they are stubborn. And you cannot find any common language. There's no sense. Common sense. So I told him, Rabbi Skarut, I'm very sorry that you don't take advantage of the opportunity of rescuing at least the most important books we get. Go home. Don't worry about our books. We'll worry ourselves. We'll rescue all our books, not a part of it. The next day was the was the books had to be delivered, and from all parts of the ghetto, the Vegans took books. And there is one of picture I have that the children with the wagon, they go, you see. And while we are sitting, I was the liaison officer between the Jewish Committee and Dr. Benkner from the Rosenberg Einsatzstab. And day before, he wanted me to show him the Sehenswürdigkeiten from the ghetto. The most important thing what can be seen in the ghetto, the sights of the ghetto. So in the ghetto, there was a synagogue that one day the Germans ordered.
Okay, hold on, Avraham. We're going to pick up. They have to change tapes again.
Good.
But we have to hold that thought because we're going to start from there.
Yes, yes. Is it?